Welcome to Roofing Uncovered, the podcast where we talk about roofs without going over your head. I'm your host, Dustin Brooks, and we are here to uncover everything commercial and industrial roofing. We'll cut through the jargon, we'll get to the good stuff, safety, sustainability, innovation, whatever's shaping our industry's future. Whether you're an architect, business owner, facility manager, or roofing contractor, this will be packed with insights, packed with knowledge to help you in your business. Let's get started. All right, today we are going to talk about something really exciting. Membranes, skin, sunscreen. What does that have to do with uncovering information and knowledge about roofing? Well, I'll explain to you. So let's start with this. There are so many roofing products on the market right now, especially coatings, liquid applied products. But I like to always differentiate and create definitions on we have coatings and we have liquid applied membranes. What's the difference between a coating and a membrane? I find it best to always use analogies, real life analogies that can make a little more sense to us and help us create those differences in appearance, in technical details between different products that are out there. So let me start by reading off a scientific definition of what a membrane is. Membrane is a commonly used word in the roofing industry to explain the layer. The roofing membrane is essentially your waterproofing layer. That's what's protecting the roof assembly. That's what's protecting the building from the elements and most importantly, from water, from moisture. So your membrane is your waterproofing layer, no matter where that is. What does membrane mean in kind of scientific terms? And a membrane is a pliable sheet-like structure acting as a boundary, lining, or partition in an organism. And I'm just going to say that one more time. A membrane is a pliable sheet-like structure acting as a boundary, lining, or partition in an organism. In the roofing world, a membrane acts as that. It's pliable. It's definitely sheet-like. A lot of membranes are sheets. And it's a boundary. It is a lining. It is a partition. It separates the elements, the outside exterior elements, from the inside of the building. It is our partition. It is our layer. Now, there are others in there, the deck, the insulation, but those aren't our pliable sheet-like barriers against moisture because those can get wet. They can absorb moisture. Coatings are not membranes. They cannot be used as a membrane. So coating is a very broad term. If you coat something, if you paint something, I mean, really the mind takes the word coating to paint. That you're going to spray it, you're going to roll something on, you're going to brush something on, you're going to coat it with something. And oftentimes, coatings, liquid applied materials in the roofing industry all get thrown in to the category of these are coatings. And if it comes in a bucket, if it comes in a drum, it's all the same stuff, right? Because it's just a coating. Well, that's not true. Not all coatings are created the same. Not all coatings are created equal. So many different technologies, so many different characteristics. So a coating or a product that comes in liquid form to the job site and then is applied can either be applied as a coating or as a membrane. If it's a membrane, it needs to act like a membrane. It needs to have those characteristics that a membrane has. It should be sheet-like. It should be pliable. It should be acting as that boundary, acting as that partition. And a lot of the roof coatings in the industry are not membranes. And I'm going to use another analogy here, which is kind of the basis of this talk today. And that is sunscreen and skin. Your skin is essentially a membrane. It is a barrier. It's a partition to keep everything inside of your body protected from the outside. It protects our organs, protects everything. And if you feel your skin, right now, your skin is what? It's flexible. It's pliable. It's tough. You can't just easily rip your skin apart. It's impermeable, right? Otherwise, if you sat in a bathtub, your body would just swell up because all the moisture would go through your skin and soak up. So our skin is a membrane. What do we use sunscreen for? We use sunscreen to protect our skin from the UV. We protect our skin from skin cancer, from premature aging, from getting damaged because the UV, especially in a situation like mine where I've got pretty pale skin, I'm easily sunburnt. And I use sunscreen to protect my skin from UV damage and getting burnt. It's reflective. Sunscreen is. I mean, that's what it's meant to do, is repel UV. It's thinly applied. It's easily applied. And roof coatings can be the same way. They are used like a sunscreen for our skin, but we can't interchange the two. If I was to say, oh, let's just replace parts of my skin with sunscreen, that's obviously not going to work. Sunscreen's not going to hold up and work as a membrane. It's not going to work as that partition, as that barrier for the outside elements to not get inside. So we have to look at it the same way with roofs and with buildings. In the industry, if someone is presenting, for example, an acrylic coating or a silicone coating, and they're saying this is a new roof, if you apply this on your roof, you have a new roof. If they're using the terminology membrane, to me, in my opinion, that is inaccurate. That's misinformation. Because if you look at the technical properties of acrylic and silicone, they have very minimal elongation, meaning they're not very flexible. They don't stretch very far. They're not very strong. If you look at the tensile strength, which is essentially how much force does it take to break that sheet, to break that piece, the tensile strength on silicones and acrylics, which are the most commonly used roof coatings, they're low. And both of those products are permeable, meaning if water sits on top of them, that water will migrate and permeate through that film and can get to the underside. So they're not acting as a membrane. They're not tough, they're not strong, they're not pliable, and they're typically applied thin. The most you ever see those applied in rare circumstances is 40 dry mils, 0.04 inches. In oftentimes 20 to 30 mils. So really in that situation, we're just painting the roof. We're applying it like a sunscreen, because this is an acrylic I have here in my hands, and it's white, it's highly reflective, it's low cost, it's applied thin, and it's easy to put on. And if we coat an existing roof, like I've talked about before, we're putting that sunscreen on the skin. We're protecting that skin from the UV. We're protecting it from premature aging. This is a method that's been used in roofing for decades and decades. They used to put on hot asphalt built-up roofs, which, by the way, is a liquid applied membrane. When they take the asphalt, they heat it up in hot kettles, they dump it out, and they mop it down, put in layers of reinforcement. They're creating a membrane on site. That's a liquid applied material. Liquid applied roofing and waterproofing is the original way of roofing and waterproofing things. Centuries, thousands of years ago, asphalt, those types of products were used to waterproof things, and they were all liquid applied. So liquid applied membranes versus just coatings and paints need to be put into different categories. And so if you see here with these acrylic, this sunscreen that I have here, this coating, it's easy to tear. There's no stretch to it. And when you're applied directly over something, you're not going to be able to withstand movement. This isn't going to help you with hail resistance, foot traffic resistance, drop tools, that sort of thing. This really is just protecting the skin or the membrane that's underneath. So what other coatings are out there? Acrylics, silicones, SEBs or SEBS coatings. There's some hybrid ones. But really it comes down to looking at the technical characteristics of the material. Is it applied thin? Typically, I would say a true membrane, a true barrier is going to be at least 60 mils. And that would be a dry thickness. If we're talking about an actual prefabricated sheet, like single ply or modified, definitely same principle, I would say, is that 60 mil minimum is our minimum membrane thickness. Other characteristics to go for, look at the elongation, look at the tensile strength, look at the permeability. Is the perm rating over 1.0 US perms? If it is, that means it is highly permeable. It's vapor permeable. Moisture will get through it, possibly, or it will go both directions. So elongation, tensile strength, look at the permeability, and look at some of the guarantees being provided by the manufacturer? Are there any coverages or statements about hail resistance? Does it improve that at all? Puncture resistance. What types of puncture resistant tests or crack bridging tests do they have on that? And then again, the thickness is the other one to look at. Is it thinly applied or not? If you apply a coating at 60, 70, 80 mils, you could possibly create a membrane. There are systems out there that utilize acrylic, and they build up the thickness of the acrylic with multiple layers of reinforcement, because what they do is that they take that low tensile strength and they increase it exponentially to a very high tensile strength product, kind of like a reinforced single ply. The downside to it, so now we're kind of in the gray areas. It's kind of a membrane. It's thick. It's got high tensile strength. The elongation is low because now it's just fabric. But at the end of the day, that acrylic is still highly permeable and the fabric is permeable. So that membrane you've created is still permeable. So we're not a non-breathable, impermeable, non-porous membrane. So we're still kind of in the coating category. But you take it and you combine it with a non-breathable membrane, now you're getting there. What are the products out there that would be considered to be a skin, a membrane, a barrier, partition of water, actually being that waterproofing, that roof membrane? There are liquid applied ones, and there are ones that are, everything starts as a liquid, but they're made in a factory into sheets, and then you hold them down a variety of ways. So on the sheet side, we've got single plies, PVC, TPO are the two main thermoplastic materials. PVC sometimes modified with KEE. So you've got PVC and TPO thermoplastics. Again, they are typically minimum 60 mils. They're very strong. It's impossible for me to rip this sheet. They have flexibility. And the thing is, these could be used as a pool liner. They can hold moisture and water indefinitely. There's a reason why thermoplastics are the most commonly used roof membrane in new construction, and that's because they are a true membrane that's lightweight but meets all the qualifications of what that barrier needs to do. So you have thermoplastics, then you have the thermoset single ply, which would be EPDM, and you go into the asphaltic world and you've got modified bitumen, which you either have SBS or you have APP, and those are, again, thick, they're pliable, they're definitely non-breathable. So all of those sheet membranes that come this way and they're rolled out and applied on the roof meet those same characteristics of a skin. On the liquid applied side, there are thermoset rubbers, like the product that our company manufactures. Again, thick, minimum 60 mils, very durable, very elastic. I can't even get a good stretch on this because of the strength. High puncture resistance. So it meets the characteristics of a membrane. Thick, pliable, elastic, impermeable. And so this can be used as an actual membrane, as the skin, to either go over an existing roof, to be used on a substrate as a waterproofing layer. Other liquid applied membranes out there, one that I mentioned already is there's hot applied asphalt, there's cold process asphalt. These are waterproofing materials that, when reinforcement is incorporated in there, because asphalt on its own is a very weak material when it's cured. It does not have good flexibility or stretch, it does not have good strength, but by incorporating fabric into it, it does become a strong membrane that you can build up in that way. Obviously, it's not used as commonly because of a lot of environmental issues, disruption with odors and those sorts of things, but you have liquid applied asphalt systems, hot and cold. You've got PMMA products, you have polyurea products, and you have polyurethane or just urethane products that, now there's a variety of those. Most of your PMMAs and polyureas are all going to be non-breathable, impermeable, very strong, elastic, thick, and durable. They meet the qualifications of a membrane. Polyurethanes is a broad category. You have polyurethanes that are strong, flexible, and impermeable and applied thick. So that meets the qualifications of a membrane. And then you have polyurethane coatings that are actually breathable, and they're lower in they're honestly a little bit more like an acrylic or a silicone, just a little bit beefier, and they're still applied thin. So depending, again, on those technical characteristics, that's what at the end of the day you have to look at, is the technical data. What's that flexibility look like? What's that tensile strength look like? What's the minimum thickness of application? And what's that perm rate? Those are key considerations when looking at a skin or a sunscreen, a membrane or a coating. Now, in some situations, a coating or a sunscreen is all that you need. If your roof is in a condition where it just needs a little bit longer life and you can rely, your membrane, your skin that you have now is in decent condition, then that sunscreen is going to provide a lot of value to you. But if you need a new membrane, if you need a new skin, then that's the route that the conversation needs to be steered. Unfortunately, too often, that all gets intermingled, and a liquid applied membrane is looked at as just a coating. It's not going to do what we need. It's not good enough. It's not going to act as a membrane because it's getting lumped in with, if it's liquid applied, if it's spray applied, it's all in the same category, which obviously isn't true. And then vice versa. Sunscreens and coatings will get proposed or promoted to a customer as, this is a roof membrane. This is a liquid applied membrane. But when you look at the technical data and you look at the performance of what that product actually does in real life, it is not a membrane. So I just felt it was important to communicate that analogy and looking at all of these different products and realizing that all these products fit a need in the industry. But it's important for you, whether you're a building manager making decisions, facility manager, architect, consultant, that we really look at it and make sure we don't lump everything into the same category, but really look at those differences. Now, we could obviously go more in depth, and I will on future podcasts and episodes on the differences between the different coatings and the different liquid applied membranes. There's different environmental impacts. There's a lot of different variances between those. So my recommendation is at least look at products in this lens. Is it a membrane? Is it a coating? Is it a skin or is it a sunscreen? Start diving into the technical data, and then you go from there. Happy roofing, everybody.